The Circassians in Iran are an ethnic minority in Iran. Circassians in Iran differ somewhat from the other Circassian diasporas in Western Asia in that most of them stem from the Safavid and Qajar era, although a number migrated as Muhajirs in the late 19th century as well. The Circassians in Iran were very influential during periods in the last few centuries. The vast majority of them have assimilated to Persian language, and no sizable number speaks their native Circassian languages anymore. Once a very large minority in Iran, nowadays due to being heavily assimilated over the course of time and the lack of censuses based on ethnicity, population estimates vary significantly. They are, after the Georgians, the largest Caucasus-derived group in the nation. The Circassians in Iran are almost exclusively Shia Muslims of the Twelver faith. In Persian, the word Turks is sometimes also applied generally to Caucasian peoples living beyond Derbent in Dagestan, which was the northernmost principal city of Iran prior to its ceding to Russia in the first half of the 19th century following the Treaty of Gulistan. History. Circassians in Iran have a long history. To a certain good extent, they shared the same role as their other Circassian brethren who lived in neighboring Ottoman Turkey. Many were importees, deportees, slaves, but also made up many of the notable noble families in the empire, while many others were kingmakers, military commanders, soldiers, craftsmen, peasants, while they also composed many of the king's wives and women in the harem. Under the various kings of the Safavid and Qajar dynasty, hundreds of thousands of Circassians would eventually happen to live in Iran. Safavids. The first Circassian presence in Iran is noted since the early era of the Safavids, during which Sheikh Junaid raided various regions of Circassia and carried prisoners back. From the time of Shah Tahmasp I, the Circassians started to play an important role in Iranian society, and the Circassians start to appear as a large ethnic group in the successive empires based in Iran. In order to make a counterbalance to the tribal, ethnic and favored interests the Qizilbash gave, which make a system imbalanced, Tahmasp already started to make the first steps of creating a new layer in Iranian society. The kings before Tahmasp and he himself often found themselves incapable of effectively ruling due to the extremely strong influence the Qizilbash expressed in all spheres of the empire. After all, they had formed the backbone of the Safaria from the earliest days, as well as having provided substantial military power since the same time, on which the Safavids would rely for nearly their entire existence, though in changing degrees. In order to break this system, a counterbalance was needed, and a new layer in society was the medium through which this could be reached. This system and policy of creating a new layer in society was started and initiated by Tahmasp I, and would be fully and only composed of hundreds of thousands of Christian and pagan Caucasian, mostly Circassian and Georgian, deportees, importees, slaves and migrants, and this new society layer was to be eventually fully accomplished and implemented by Shah Abbas I. Out of this new layer, a new military force was established as well that would directly contest the hegemony of the Qizilbash everywhere in the empire, and replace them from all their positions. These ghulams, or military slaves, were part of this newly created layer in society, and were, although initiated by Tahmasp I, only perfectioned, completed and implemented by Abbas I, and were thus also solely composed of tens of thousands of ethnic Christian or pagan Circassians, Georgians, and to a lesser extent Armenians, and other peoples of the Caucasus, thus gathered from Iran's northern territories and beyond. This military slave corps would be created in order to systematically nullify the Qizilbash, whose influence had gone out of hand in all sectors and positions in the empire, and to secure the kings their grip over the kingdom. Eventually, the large amounts of Circassians and other Caucasians, only loyal to the Shah, would vie through the system with the Qizilbash for political hegemony and supremacy, and be victorious. although sometimes they would vie against each other as well. Circassians made up a good bulk of these elite armies, and played therefore a pivotal role. This elite, slave system, army was very similar to the Janissaries of neighboring Ottoman Turkey, in its implementation and formation. The ones in the armies received, after advanced education, conversion to Islam, and upbringing by Muslim families, the best military training and equipment, and were the strongest force and class of the empire. Other massive amounts of Circassians were, like the Georgians, employed and deployed in all other possible aspects and positions that the empires offered, such as the harem of civil administration, military administration, peasantry, crafters, amongst others, while other large numbers were initially settled in various regions in mainland Iran, including Gilan, Mazandaran, and Fars. In Thomas Herbert's Travels in Persia, 1627 to 1629, he writes that in a sparsome 40,000 transplanted Christian Circassians and Georgians were living. As he was traveling through various regions of the Safavid Empire, many of the Shahs, princes, and princesses descended from noble Circassian lines. Many of the Safavid nobility at the court were Circassian. In fact, the Safavids, their heavily mixed ancestry includes several Circassian lines. Shah Abbas II and Shah Suleiman I are just some of the examples amongst the highest nobility that were born by Circassian mothers. Qajars, following the mass expulsion of the native Circassians of the northwest Caucasus in 1864 mainly towards the Ottoman Empire. Some also fled to neighboring Qajar Iran, which bordered the Ottoman Empire as well as Imperial Russia. In Iran, like in Turkey, the government followed an assimilation policy, starting the gradual absorption of the Caucasian refugees into the population. Some of these deportees from after 1864 rose to various high ranks, such as in the Persian Cossack Brigade, where every member of the army was either Circassian, or any other type of ethnos from the Caucasus. Modern day. Despite heavy assimilation over the centuries, Circassian settlements have lasted into the 20th century. However, the Circassian language is once also widely used by the large Circassian minority. Nowadays no sizable number of Circassians in Iran speak the language anymore. After the Georgians, the Circassians are the second largest Caucasus-derived group in Iran, comprising significant numbers. Notables. Notable Iranians of either partial or full Circassian descent include Fawzia Fuad, Empress Consort of Iran, Princess Shahnaz of Iran, Princess Zahra Amana Zaidi, Prince Khosrau Jahanbana, Princess Fawzia Jahanbana, Teresia Samsonia, Pari Khan Khanum, Abbas II of Persia, Suleiman I of Persia, Fahad Beg Turks, Shamkal Sultan, Naki Haq Khanum, Yusuf Aga, Muhammad Bakir Safi Mirza, Zun Babad Beg, Kazakh Khan, Safavid Emir of Shirvan in 1624-1625, commander of the Kizilbash, Ana Khanum,